He is the creator of not one, but two video games that's exclusive to the Xbox Gaming Console on the Xbox indie market. You want to talk about a real steal with these games, as they are 80 MS points. That's just basically $1, folks. Do you know how far $1 goes nowadays? I mean, just really think about that. I mean, $1, no tax, just a straight up dollar. It doesn't really go that far, right? Right. These games he's got, it's really, really true hidden gems, I feel. Now, July of this year, he and his team had released the eagerly anticipated follow-up to 2011's Action Arcade Wrestling with Action Arcade Wrestling 2. Please welcome Action Arcade Wrestling creator, Dave Horn. Dave, how you doing?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Good. How you doing, buddy?
I'm great.
Thank you so much for doing this. I know it's a little bit late.
It's past my bedtime, man. I'm not too young anymore.
I
should be in bed.
I know how it is, trust me. I know how you feel, because every time I get ready to do this, my girlfriend always says, do you have to do a show? You know, come on, it's so late. I'm like, you know, we got to do it. We got the listeners. Come on. You know,
you should have had Kimberly on second, and then had the old guy on first, so he can go to bed and have the spunky 29-year-old athlete, come on later in the show.
I'll tell you what, I'll remember that for next time. Oh, God. No, I appreciate you sitting down and doing this. Now, I got to let the folks know, this is a true story. I came on late to Action Arcade Wrestling because I had grabbed the first one, like, at least a month or two before Part 2 came out. And when Part 2 came out, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you guys had a trial version of it available, because I kind of remember playing it first, then deciding to buy it. Did you guys do a trial version of it first for the Xbox?
Yeah, every indie game on Xbox 360 automatically has a trial, and it's you get to play 8 minutes, but then you can also determine different things, like you can lock out a feature or something like that. So yeah, every game on there that's in the indie game section is has a trial by default. So yeah, there was
okay. I didn't know that, yeah, because it's very rare I go in the indie section, but I grabbed the first one and I loved it, and then the second one came out, and it was like, okay, let me see what's going on here, and I'm loving it. I'm curious, how has the feedback been for this game this time around?
It's been really good. I keep trying to push the game and the indie program that Microsoft kind of went out to developers for, at least in this generation. I think in next generation it's going to change, but in this one it was pretty limiting. It really was only meant to, have people do kind of casual games and that kind of thing. And not that my game is, any spectacular feat of technology, but we're doing some things in there that it never was really meant to do. So we're pushing it to the limit, pretty hard, with, tons of we have almost I forget what the count, like over 600 animations and, just stuff like that, you don't really see too many of the casual games on Xbox Live Indie, have. It's more for the retail games or the arcade games or something like that. So, we've had a lot of issues just trying to optimize it and help it out and try to make it run as smooth as possible. But, people have been really liking it. I enjoy going on like Google or YouTube and just typing in, Googling my game and seeing what people are making and posting matches. And, I think people are really having a good time with it.
That's good. That's good. You mentioned doing a Google search and all that. I couldn't help but notice tons and tons of positive feedback for this game. I definitely want to stress that. It's a lot of good feedback for this game. But then you have some knuckleheads, and I'm not going to even give them their 15 seconds of fame. I'm not going to mention their name, but then you have some people that want to give a negative review, and it's kind of like, okay, you do realize that it's pretty much down to like one, maybe three guys that's making this, it's like, okay, did you kick up any money like towards Indigo to help fund the game? It's like, what's been your mentality when you kind of see, and I'm sure you probably kind of know who I'm talking about. What do you kind of say to yourself? Okay, you got one game in, you got the second game in. How is it for you to deal with that type of criticism, knowing that okay, you can't please everybody?
Well, yeah, you always knew that coming in, and the thing is that this isn't really my business too much. This is kind of just my hobby in my spare time. I'm just making a wrestling game just because it's fun to do it. If I was born like 30 years ago, I'd be making like model trains. This is just something I do that, when the kids are go to bed and I come home from work and I just want to, relax. If I'm not playing a video game, I like to make them. It's just something that I like to do, and fortunately, I can share that with other people who might like to, might like to check out what I'm doing too. So, it's a lot different than even some of the other indie wrestling game developers that are out there, or THQ or 2K or anything that that my game would be compared to would be insane. It's just you're comparing a staff of probably 50 people with, unlimited resources, that access to, real wrestlers and rings and beta testers and everything, compared to, a dude with like a laptop and a beer in his porch, just kind of screwing around with it. So, plus I think the other thing is that, those games are, $60, $70. Mine's $1. So if I personally thought that it was on par with, something along the lines of a 2K game, I'd be charging $60 for it, So I think it's I think pricing has to come into play in that kind of comparison.
Now, for the record, did you seek out any funding for this game through Indiegogo, or did you just go at your own leisure, your own personal resources to make this happen and make it be available for everybody to download in the Xbox Marketplace?
Well, the way it happened was the very first game, which I don't think is nearly as good as the second, but it was still a pretty good feat because that was pretty much done completely by me. It was like my own little Kickstarter. Like, I made this game entirely myself. I think I bought I spent a couple money. Well, I bought the engine that I made the game in, and then I bought some illustrations for the crowd, and I think a sound effects CD. Other than that, I did absolutely everything from top to bottom. So it was kind of a blood, sweat, and tears thing. And I made some decent money from that, and then that was kind of used for my budget for the second game. So the second game, I had a little bit of a budget to get, a real animator to help me out and a real programmer to do some really cool things with the development. So it was kind of along that line. It just kind of built from there. But I didn't do any kind of Kickstarter or anything like that. The only thing I did was just because it seemed like a good idea and kind of fun and people liked it, was I let people sponsor moves. So if you wanted a move in the game, you could fill out a form on my website, and you could pick a move that you wanted to see included in the game. We'd animate it, and then we'd put your name next to that move in the Create a Wrestler section. So that was kind of popular. That was kind of fun. And you can go through, and when you're scrolling through the moves, you'll see sponsored by. People have their companies and their names, and a guy did one for his father who passed away in memory, and so it was kind of a cool little thing. But other than that, we really didn't do any fundraising or anything. It was just kind of just sitting down and starting programming and developing.
That is awesome. I mean, because I really wasn't sure. That's why I was asking you. You definitely have my utmost respect. I mean, you little knuckleheads out there, take that. It's like, this guy did not ask for any money from anybody. He made the games because he was passionate about them. It was a cool hobby. I mean, you can't beat that. I mean, and $1, like you said, no tax, $1. I mean, that's just awesome. Now, for those that may not be aware of Action Arcade Wrestling, because we probably have a couple of them out there that's probably new to them. It's good timing, too, because Christmas around the corner. Maybe you guys want to put this on your list. Can you give the folks a little bit of a backstory on what led you to making these types of games? Now, one observation I made, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but from both titles, it kind of comes off like it's paying a little bit homage to SmackDown 1 and 2, maybe No Mercy, WrestleFest, even got a little bit of the 80s graphics going on there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. It's of those, I would say WrestleFest would be on top. If you could imagine almost like a sequel to a WrestleFest or even some of the games that were on the old 16-bit systems like the Super Nintendo WWF games and those kinds of things. But that's what I was going for. Kind of a 2.5D arcade game, similar a little bit in style to No Mercy, just from some of the controls, and actually I've changed the controls up a little bit as well on an upcoming update to make it even more like No Mercy. But by no means is it a sim like No Mercy. It's just a sit down, have a good time, fun arcade game, and it was really originally inspired by WrestleFest. That was kind of the one that I said, you know what, it would be awesome if they released a 3D or 2.5D version of WrestleFest. That would be awesome. And that was kind of my thing. Like, well, maybe I'll give it a go, and see what's up, see what I can do. And that was pretty much the idea. But yeah, it's basically pays homage to the kind of the 16-bit 90s era of 80s and 90s of arcade wrestling games.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, did you find it to be more challenging making the first game, or was it very challenging making the follow-up?
Well, the first one, it was kind of just apples and oranges, because the first one I was just trying to figure out, how do you display graphics on this? How do you go through the process of submitting it to Microsoft? How do you, learning better animation techniques and figuring out the logic of what works, what doesn't work, going through the trials and all that kind of stuff. The second game was more, okay, I got this, I did it myself. Now I'm going to step back a little bit, more of like a project manager. I mean, I still did, most of the development on it, but I'd kind of like to have a real animator do this now and a real programmer kind of take it and let's see how we can push the boundaries. So the second game, it was more about, trying to get a little more of my own vision of what was kind of in my head. I was able to take a look at the first one with a fresh set of eyes, and there was a lot I wanted to change. So this kind of gave me the opportunity to do that. So it was kind of just wasn't more or less difficult. It was just totally different, than the first one. The first one was just, how can I do this? And the second one was, what can we do that nobody's ever done? Like we have a feature called the Customizer that you can actually take an Xbox save, rip it apart, put your own textures on, and then put it back on the Xbox. That was something that just nobody had ever done. The indie games doesn't even let you have access to the pictures, so we were trying to figure out a way to kind of hack through it a little bit to get what the result we wanted to get. So it was just kind of different. It wasn't really harder. It was just a little different.
A little different. And talk a little bit more about some of the changes that you made with this installment when compared to the first one, because I'm sure there's probably that audience out there that's trying to figure out if they need to start with the first one or if they should go with the second one instead or just pick up both.
I think they're two totally different games. I mean, the first one's kind of, in terms of quality, I think everything has improved from 1 to 2. I'll say that right off the bat. But one is more of a cel-shaded, cartoony, more of a WrestleFest type looking game. So you're going to make like almost cartoon caricatures of the wrestlers that you want to make, like that kind of thing. 2 is moving into still not incredibly realistic, but a little different stylistic approach. And I think it's a little deeper in terms of the gameplay and the mix and all the different things that you can do. So it is a little bit of a beast. I mean, I think I like the second one obviously better. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done it. But they are kind of definitely different.
So what do you see happening next for Action Arcade Wrestling 2 and then going into the future? Because as we all know, Xbox 360, if I'm not mistaken, I think I read in an article, they're going to continue to have support for the next 3 years. So will Arcade Wrestling 2 continue to get its necessary patches and updates? Is there any more that's going to be coming out, or maybe some new characters you might release?
Well, there is coming up a patch that fixes some bugs and changes up the control scheme. Like, the nice thing about my game, as opposed to like some of even the AAA titles, is I just came back to it, after a couple of weeks, and I said, you know what, some of this stuff, like there's a combo that you can do, and I was like, you know what, this is getting a little old. Let me change it up and make it better. So, I totally redid the blocking and the defense and the striking system, and I'm going to release a patch to, I think, make it better. So the kind of versatility and speed is something that I can, I can kind of do. So I am updating that a little bit. So that'll be coming up in the next week or two. You should, if you own the game, it just updates automatically when you start to play it. But moving forward, my goal is to get on the next gen systems, the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Now I don't really have my time's slowly running out here with my kids getting older. So I've kind of partnered with an actual company that's going to be kind of co-releasing some stuff in the future, called Vico Game Studio. This is the gentleman that I got to help program, and he's actually worked on serious, he's worked on Gears of War, and he's worked on some of these other serious AAA titles. So it's going to be in good hands. I'm excited, but our step is to get to the next gen systems and have some type of co-release, but in the interim, we have to, kind of get a budget, to do that. So we're thinking of a couple different ways. One main one is to actually release this on PC, and getting a little bit upgraded version of the current, Action Arcade Wrestling 2 game onto the PC. With some new features and some really cool things that you can do on a PC that you can't do on a console, that I'm not really, talking about yet because we're still kind of researching it, but it's going to be a pretty cool version of the game, and hopefully that'll get us some good working capital to push it to the next-gen systems.
Now, I'm sure one of the main questions that some folks are probably asking as they're hearing all this is, with this particular title, are you interested in going down that route where this is something that's going to be coming out yearly, like with some of those other titles that's coming out, the major titles, or are you just going to kind of take a step back and say, you know what, let's not even go that route, we'll just release it when we feel it's good and ready?
The latter. Yeah, I think, like I said, this isn't my job. So I work on it in my free time, and my free time's pretty much, my company and my 2 kids take over, a lot of that. So it's just I can't work on it with any regularity to be able to do yearly, updates. It's just kind of what the next one is. We're just going to work on it until we think it's done and good and ready, and then release it, at that point. So you're not going to see any kind of, Action Arcade Wrestling 2014, 2015. It'd be more like, 2, 3, 4 type release.
Right. Okay, awesome. Well, let the good folks know, in case they want to get a little bit more information about Action Arcade Wrestling, where they can get it, how they can, stay all up to date on everything Action Arcade related.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have ActionArcadeWrestling.com, and that'll take you to my Twitter feed and Facebook, Facebook.com/ActionArcadeWrestling. I do most of my stuff on Facebook, so that's where I usually spend the most time, and I'm pretty good at talking with people, and if you have a really cool idea that you ever wanted in a wrestling game, or just want to talk, I'm usually pretty good at getting back to people and taking people's advice and input. So and I think a lot of people appreciate that too. So but that's pretty much where I go and put up any of my information on the game or any updates that are coming up.
Okay. Okay, awesome, awesome. Well, look, you definitely got supporters over here in the RCWR show, and we definitely would love to have you back one day, whether it's to talk about Action Arcade Wrestling 3 or a different other project. We'd love to have you back. Anything we can do to help spread the good word, we'd be more than happy to. But, yeah, definitely stay in contact. We'd like to have you back one day.
Well, I really appreciate you having me on, and indie developers are just they make or break by folks like you who are supporting us. So we really appreciate that.
All right. No, we appreciate you, making these games be available because honestly, it's a really good alternative, especially, time right now where the country's not exactly out of the woods just yet. It's really nice to be able to, get good quality games like this and for a really good deal. Thank you for making it happen. We appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, man. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Have a good night. Enjoy the rest of the week.
All right, you too.
All right, now. Bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Action Arcade Wrestling creator Dave Horn. Make sure you check out all those links. Once again, you can go to actionarcadewrestling.com and you get all the info right there about the game. And if you appreciate great indie games, definitely show your support. Spread the good word. Sometimes just downloading them, it just isn't enough. If you really enjoy what it is that you're playing from the indie market, go that extra step further. Reach out to folks that are making these games on Twitter, Facebook, whatever respected social media platform that they're on. Branch out to them and let them know how much you appreciate it. And, sometimes it goes a little bit of a ways when you really think about it.